we mentioned the Falcons earlier. In both Peter King's Football Morning in America and Albert Breer's Monday Morning Quarterback, the idea is floated by the writer, not as a report, but as an idea that Julio Jones could eventually be traded post-June 1. We've suggested that post-June 1 scenario as it relates to Russell Wilson. I keep thinking someone's going to do it. We see trades done in late January that aren't official until mid-March. Why not have a trade in late April that's official on June 2 when you can dramatically reduce the cap charge? And for the Falcons, it would be a $15 million reduction in the cap charge for trading Julio Jones. So both King and Breer are suggesting this could happen. It feels like to me someone in Atlanta is putting out the word.
Yeah.
Hey, say this could happen, but don't couch it as a report. Couch it as your own idea. That happens all the time.
Right.
The fact that two people are saying the same thing, that's either one hell of a coincidence or somebody in Atlanta is saying, hey, go ahead and put this out there. Just put it out there as your own idea. Either way, the idea is out there. Julio Jones could be traded, but it couldn't be for 2021 draft pick compensation because it would necessarily be a deal that becomes effective as of June 2, 2021.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised to hear this news, right? I mean, I think this is something you and I thought, and we talked about a lot towards the end of the regular season last year, that there would be a chance that, Julio Jones would be on the trade block this offseason, and they might try to do something with him. I mean, honestly, I thought maybe there was a chance they might trade him during the season last year. I think that might have been the time to actually do it. Right now I look at it and just go, I don't know, Mike. I mean, my gut feeling for the respect I have for Julio Jones, where I would say this is a guy that's probably in the conversation for the 10 greatest wide receivers of all time. I think he's in that combo. He's that special of a guy where would you want him at this point of his career with that type of price tag? I'm not sure I would, and I don't mean that to be disrespectful. I'm just talking like football business here. I mean, he's a guy that we know can barely practice a lot of the weeks. It's always like, well, we're going to see Saturday for Julio. We'll see how he feels at the walkthrough, and we'll make the decision for Sunday's game then. Or it's wake up Sunday morning, and we're going to hear Julio's going to work out before the game, right? It's always that type of talk. So with that, the type of money, and then, of course, like the play went downwards last year. I have a hard time thinking there's going to be a huge market for a guy like Julio Jones. I don't know. You tell me. Is that crazy for me to think that?
No, there's a couple of factors to consider. The salary isn't ridiculous in comparison to the market. You could get him for the balance of his contract, 3 years left, 15.3 this year, 11.5 next year, 11.5 the year after that. Those are not ridiculous numbers.
No, they're not.
Problem is he may roll through the door saying, I want more money. See, he's got to want to be traded to you. It's almost like trading for a quarterback. I think Julio Jones is closer to that category of you better be sure he wants to be there.
Right.
I saw one the Ravens. Peter suggested the Ravens. Do you think Julio Jones is going to accept the trade to the Ravens? Hell no. Hell no. He may not show up if they would do it.
Yeah.
So he's got to be on board with it, and one way to get him on board with it, he may want more money, and the problem is guys always have. Especially as they get later in their career, they remember what they did. They want to be paid for what they've done. They don't have
a great sense of reality,
view of their value.
Right.
They think they can still do what they did 5 years ago.
No doubt about it.
And that complicates it as well. So, if there's any new deal to be done, he's got to be on board with it. Even if they're trading the contract as is, you better make sure he's on board with it, or you're buying yourself a problem. And to your point, is he still the guy that he was? Is he a guy you can truly count on? And this may be why Atlanta's trying to be a little coy here, trying to maybe stoke a market when there may not be one. Maybe they'd love to be able to trade him, but there may not be a market. And when Peter King suggests a second-round pick for Julio Jones, hell, that's what they got for Mohamed Sanu.
Right.
So maybe it tells you the Falcons not quite fire sale when it comes to Julio Jones, but maybe they've realized and maybe they've recognized that even though they want to keep Matt Ryan, Julio Jones is the guy whose time has come to move on. Just good luck finding someone to take him. I think that's going to be the challenge, finding someone to take on that, even though that contract isn't 22, 23, 24 million a year.
Right.
Most of the money's already been paid out. That's still a lot to pay to one guy who is far closer to the end than the beginning.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, who had 770 yards last year and was banged up and not the number one receiver on his own team, right? So it sounds crazy to say it. But I mean, I think a second rounder is they'd probably go, okay, we'd take that. I don't know if anybody for that number we're talking about, even though, like you said, it's not like a huge number for what the market is right now. I don't know. To me, it'd be one of those things where it jumps out to me, Mike, like where, hey, maybe he's, on the market right now, right? A little bit like, hey, yeah, but I think it's going to be more of one of those things where it's going to have to take a team that looks at themselves as like a Super Bowl contender, right? And they get into training camp and they realize, ooh, we need one more person, and I think we can win the Super Bowl. Like maybe it's the Green Bay Packers, maybe something like a team like that. You know what I'm saying? I think it's that type of team, that type of situation that's going to trade for Julio. Like, because to your point earlier, it's not going to be some team that's like on the up and coming, right? And it's like, oh, yeah, we want an old veteran receiver, and now we might have to pay him more money with a contract extension as we're rebuilding our team. That makes no sense. To me, it would have to be a team that is legit, like we're one guy away. We need one playmaker, and maybe that does happen as we get closer to training camp or go throughout training camp.
He became a problem for the Falcons 3 years ago.
Right.
And we have drawn the line to the Matt Ryan most recent contract that pays him $30 million a year.
Yeah.
At the time, Julio Jones was making $15 million a year. Easy to say, wait a minute. That
Right.
guy isn't worth twice as much as me to this team. That guy's who he is in part because of me. But also at the same time, that same time period when there was this vague talk, is he going to hold out? Is he not going to hold out? I remember hearing that Julio Jones was kind of changing because he was spending time with a lot of really, really rich people. And if you're a football player, there's only one way to get really, really, really rich, and that's to maximize your football earnings, period. And that's why he drew the line in the sand, got the $22 million contract, and I think he's been kind of a headache behind the scenes for the Falcons the past few years. And I'm saying all this because, number one, I'm not sure I've ever said it before, but I've known it for 3 years. But number two, I'm going to throw a dart here.
Yeah.
I'm not going to quite close my eyes, but I am going to throw a dart. It may hit the board. It may not hit the board. Here's my prediction.
Okay.
If they don't trade him, they're going to cut him June 2.
Ooh.
That's my prediction. Because even though it'll cost them money
Right.
under the cap, they're going to save $15 million in
Yeah.
a year where the cap's down. You got to look at it. You say, a guy played 9 games last year.
Right.
And maybe they're thinking some days he didn't go when we think maybe he could have gone. Maybe they're thinking that. And you know what? We clear up $15 million in cash and cap space by moving on. Yeah, we're going to take a cap charge,
Yeah.
but it's not nearly the cap charge we would have taken. We're going to come out of it ahead of the game net. And I think the key is if at 4 they take a Kyle Pitts or Jamar Chase,
Right.
that's the next step down that trail. Okay, they'll try to trade him after that. If they don't find any takers, if they can't work it out, I think June 2, it's thanks for the memories, Julio Jones. That's when we see on social media, thank you, Julio Jones from the
Right.
Atlanta Falcons on the day they're telling him to pack up his stuff and move on.
It's not a crazy thought. I mean, there's logic there. There's no doubt. And yeah, I mean, he could be expendable because of kind of like what you're saying. I mean, if you made me bet money, I'd bet Atlanta takes Kyle Pitts from Florida at pick number 4. Only thing I would say where I'm just a little tentative to buy onto what you said, because it makes a lot of sense, is just, though, the fact that, like, this is Arthur Smith's first year. He's an offensive guy. I would think he's going to want a Julio there just so his offense looks special to get off on the right propaganda note in Atlanta so everybody can be like, hey, look, it was a good hire. Look at this offense. It was fun. I don't know. But it's an interesting thought nonetheless. You're right, Mike. I mean, for this year, for what he is right now, the issues with the body, the salary cap issues with the league, like you said, it's not a crazy thought. I hear you there.
You draft Pitts 4th overall. That goes a long way toward
Right.
replacing Julio Jones. And then you take one of these other receivers, round 3, round 4. There's so, we keep hearing there's so many.
There is.
So many.
There is.
And you got Calvin Ridley. So
Yeah.
I just think that if Arthur Smith really does want to get off on the right note, and there's a lot of stuff that we don't know about this background relationship between Jones and the Falcons, and maybe Arthur Blank and Rich McKay have gotten a little exasperated with him. I think just the fact that we're starting draft week with the two primary Monday morning news columns, Peter King's Football Morning in America and SI's Monday Morning Quarterback, which Peter started all those years ago, both with the same damn thing.
Yeah.
Not a report, just a suggestion. Don't be surprised. It tells me that McKay has been sent out to lay the foundation to try to get a trade for Julio Jones, and they've mapped it out. They've played it out. If they can't pull it off, I think June 2, it's going to be see you later, Julio.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll trade him.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll trade him. But you know, when you said who's going to want to take on that contract, that's when it occurred to me, well, if they can't trade him, why would they want to keep that contract if no one wants to take it on?
Yeah. No, I mean, listen, it's certainly a good thought. The only thing I can think of, again, is he does have talent. He's still explosive as hell. That's where I would think maybe they want to keep him one more year, not take the dead cap hit, get Arthur Smith's career going in the right direction here, and go that way. So I don't know. Either way, I'm not shocked to hear that he's on the trading block. I'm really not. I don't think there's going to be a huge market for him, because of all the issues we've talked about. It'd be something to watch here, though. It really would be. I don't think this is a trade that goes down this week or anything during the draft weekend. I think this is one of those where teams get to OTAs, they start to evaluate their team a little bit and start to go, okay, wait, we do have a real need for a difference-making receiver. And maybe that's when we start to hear something, a little more concrete with this.
But now's the perfect time
to
throw that idea out into the stream. And, it's like fishing. This is the cast by the Falcons. And they're just going to sit there and they're going to wait to see if the pole starts to that feeling
jiggle.
You get when you see that pole starting to jiggle and you know you got something on the line. All right.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.